Welcome back to Tokyo Ghoul Anime Review Part 2. This time we're reviewing the second season of the Tokyo Ghoul anime called Tokyo Route A. I don't really know why they said to call it this for, but they did. It's one of the most bizarre choices I've ever seen for an anime where they give the second season a name. Mostly when it comes to watching these anime, usually they keep the same name for the series. They don't give a season a subtitle. Not that I can think of, anyways. Usually they do this for a spin-off series, but not for the second season of a series. But give what you will. Like the first season, this one is only 12 episodes. Yep. And I watched this via English dub. Yep. Not a very long season, even though it did take me a little while to finish up because I was doing other things. But yeah, I got it done. But when it comes to this particular season, this one's an alternate take on the final. Let's just say the final. I think this manga ended after I think it was like 130 something chapters. Let me look it up here. Could have sworn it was like 130 something. Let me look this up here, just to be sure about this. I just really want to make sure. Okay. Alright, see when it does come up. Yeah, I think it was like 130 something, which I know that the spin-offs, the sequel series, is actually much longer than this one. Yeah, the sequel one is longer. Yeah, and I'll get to it in a minute. Alright, when the thing comes up. Okay. Here we go. I just want to make sure about this one. This one lasted for 143 chapters. Yep. Quite long, but the current manga is pretty much like 13 chapters longer, which, okay, fine. And just by sheer coincidence, this one lasts just for a little over 3 years. Now, pretty much this one adapts from like chapter I'd say like 77 to up until like 143. It's a very loose adaptation per se. Even though it's an alternate take per se, the series does follow the manga pretty well. I would say for the first 9 episodes, then like the last three are just kind of like an original story a bit, because I kind of don't remember exactly what happened in the end. It's been a little while since I've read the manga. Um, Pretty much the first episode starts up. It begins right where the last season left off, like right after Ken bit Jason. Yep, he bit him, and then he his hair turned white. He became like one eye thing and battled a lot of people. Now you also get a chance to see the one eye owl here, which unlike in the manga, she's not there at this particular point in time, influencing Ken here. They added this in, but it's a minor addition here and there. But if you read the manga from this point forward, from this arc up until the final, it does pretty much loosely follow exactly what events happened right afterwards. Ken joined Algori Tree. Let's see what else. The battle of the prison, stuff like that. Yeah, mostly put, this does follow. And then of course we have that finale, that 3-part finale, which I think a lot of people expected this thing to happen. For watching a series like this, this is not unexpected for a series where the place where a lot of characters call home and where a lot of the series' focus gets attacked by the bad guys of the series. Yeah, this is nothing unusual. Power Rangers does this all the frickin' time. I'm not kidding about this. I mean, for Power Rangers start back in Turbo, when they had the bad guys storm the lair and basically blow it up. Though this is something a bit unusual. The coffee shop, which was basically first shown back in the pilot, which is destroyed in the final episode, it's never explained why it blew up for. My theory is that the manager of the shop probably did it himself. Either that or probably Algeri Tree blew it up. Yeah, in the anime, they don't give a reason why the thing blew up. I highly doubt Ken took the time to blow this place up. And also, his best friend, who also in the manga does join the CCG. Yeah, I do kind of remember this part. He does join the CGC, and he kind of becomes like a, let's say, a mail carrier. Okay, and then he later on becomes a field agent. Like, that was quick. Yeah, I know that the manga tends to skip, the anime skips over some certain portions of the chapters, but in the case of certain characters, like in the case of Akuman and his and the daughter of his first partner from the series, yeah, their relationship is pretty much intact from the manga, which I do praise this alternate story for keeping. A lot of the characters' relationship to each other, which is seen in this half of the series, is kept very much intact. And there's only like one major death uh, in this entire season, and that's the main character's best friend. Yeah, he's the only one who dies. Yeah, the way he dies is a bit unusual. He's attacked by one of the ghouls. He's probably attacked by one of the devil apes. Yeah, that's probably how he's attacked. And you see throughout the final couple episodes, you see both of them bleeding. Like somebody's bleeding on the floor, and it turns out it's the main character's best friend. I believe his name is Hyde, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So, yeah, they hmm yeah, it's Hyde, but and also um Rise, yeah, she's still seeing kind of in hallucinations in a way, but it's not as much as you see in the first season. Yeah, they actually cut it down here in this particular season. And also, you see the one eye out outside of the bandages. Yes, she's actually the author who Ken is a huge fan of. Now, here's something I did not like for this particular series. Now, they do keep in the little girl who basically is kind of like who looks up to Ken as a big brother. She does meet him, and their relationship is virtually kept intact. If read from the manga and the anime, this is basically the same. There's not really much. I think there's maybe a word or two change, but mostly put, she's pretty much kept the same. And it's interesting though that you see a writer who actually remembers people, because this is nothing a bit unusual. I've seen this in real life where even though a writer meets a lot of fans, they don't necessarily remember them. I have occasionally come across this when I meet comic writers at Comic Con. Neil Adams did not remember me at all because he meets a lot of people. Okay, fine. In the case of someone like Chuck Dixon, he did remember me, surprisingly. I was a little surprised he did. Greg Rucka remembered me from a tweet I sent him from a previous con. He knew exactly who I was, which I was a bit of a surprise about that. So some writers might remember you when you go to cons, when you meet them, but not every single one will remember you. And in the case this one, this is probably a bit, unless you make a good impression on it, they might good remember you. Remember you, because a lot of time people just random faces people just happen to meet. I've met a bunch of people at Comic Con, and half of them probably remember me after the first time they see me. Yeah, in the case this one I think from what I can tell, I mean if you watch the anime, it looks like that Hiwami, I think that's her name. Yeah, she's the ghoul who is, let's see, Hinami. Yeah, that's her name, Hinami. Because she made an impression on the writer who both she and Ken are huge fans of, that she remembers him. She remembers her very well, which I guess that for an anime, that's actually quite interesting, the fact they do that. Though I've read, and this is quite unusual about this, the writer's name is, I gotta look it up here. Let's see. She's the leader of Algeri Tree. Her name is Shin Tatsuzaki, I think I'd say you pronounce it. Yeah, she writes kind of like horror novels in a way. And here's something really weird. Apparently, she's in love with Ken. I'm not kidding. Despite the fact this woman is probably in her late 20s, early 30s, Ken is in his early to mid 20s. Yeah, this is probably the second series in a row I've seen it where you have a character who's got blue hair and has got an obsessive relationship with the main character. though it's not as very much twisted and obsessive as what it was in Alchemy Gotta Kill. This one is not like it's not like a ruthless general like L's death. This one is a celebrity, which makes it another series. Second time I've seen this where you have a celebrity, a female celebrity in love with the main character of the series. Kind of sounds familiar. Death Note. Yes, Death Note pretty much did the same thing. So, two types of trope basically I've seen from two different series are seen in this one. So, pretty much, yeah. So, you have this big battle, the final thing, which is pretty epic and exciting. It seems like when you watch it seems like around halfway through, Ken starts regretting his actions. Though in the manga, it takes him a little bit longer than just like halfway through the final set of chapters for the series. Now he does put on this particular outfit which he wears throughout the. If you watch the entire season, he never gets out of this attire at all. He wears his like coat, like little circle thing here. I mean, if you look at him, he kind of looks like he's dressed up like he's freaking Pinhead from Hellraiser. I'm not kidding about this. It's a very similar look to him. I mean, if you've seen the Hellraiser films, you know what I'm talking about. It's a similar attire, but at least he doesn't have meat hooks hanging from his nipples or anything like that, or at least it looks like he's wearing a skirt. But it's a very similar attire to that of Pinhead's. Similar, but it looks like it's more full, unlike Pinhead's would look like exposing skin. But give it what you will. And plus also, his fingernails are painted black. Just like Doug Bradley does whenever he plays Pinhead. I'm not kidding. If you ever watched the Hellraiser films, Doug Bradley paints his fingernails black. So, it's kind of like, if you watch the series, Ken is kind of like Pinhead in a way, in appearance. With the exception of the pins in his head. Excuse me. But yeah, there's that. But every single character is on note from how they're on the manga, which got praise for that. Toka is, you can tell definitely by looking at her, she's definitely in love with Ken. Which they do, in fact, get into a relationship by the sequel series. Sorry about that. Yeah, they do get in a relationship and they do get married. Well, mainly because she gets pregnant with his child. Of course, I haven't got the fire. I did a little research on it. This does happen. Yeah. But when I looked up the writer, see if he done any more work, unlike other writers who've done other work, the writer of Tokyo Ghoul, this is the only thing this guy has done. He's done the main series, he did the original one, the sequel one just currently ongoing right now, and the one there's a one shot and Jack. It's like he's like the only person who could do this universe. Excuse me. I don't think he does light novels per se, but he associates with them. But there's that. All right. But when the series ends, like right after the credits, they do keep like the credits rolling. When even though the episode is still going, they did the same thing at the end of the previous season, which is nothing unusual. I've seen this in anime before, where they still have the story going, despite the fact rolling the credits. As far as I know, I think this did happen in Attack on Titan. As far as I can tell, it did. It's happened for a few series I've seen like this, where they still have a story going during the actual credits. Though they do full like regular black credits, and then when it gets to the post-credit scene, you see Toka open up a new coffee shop called Re, which she does open that up in the actual sequel series, which I think that they might have pulled that from the sequel series. I'm not really sure. It's just a theory about that, but it's nice the fact they did, because it was referenced early on. That's what she really wanted to do. She wanted to open up her own coffee shop, which at the end of the series, boom, she did. Which she got praised for doing that. And if you ever see the teaser image, the promotion image they used for this particular season of Ken holding up a body, yeah, they actually used that as the final thing you see during the credits. There's very little dialogue. It's a beautiful scene. You gotta watch the anime for this, because the only reason why he's doing this is because this is his best friend who just died in his arms, and one person he considered to be very precious to him, and one person he would never eat. And it's also revealed that he knew all along Ken was a ghoul. He just wanted to protect him. Fine, whatever. Perfect. At least he wasn't hating him for it. But it seems like ends on a cliffhanger a bit when it comes to Ken. You see him just walking, and none of the CCG are just attacking him. They're just allowing him to walk right through. Like, it's one of the most shocking scenes of the entire series. Him just walking right through the CGC, laying down his best friend's body. I think it's in front of the chairman of the CCG, and that's where that moment ends. Toka seen, of course, later on, open up shop. Now, when I think of the name Toka, the first thing I think of is Toka and Razor from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 Secret of the Ooze. That's where I think of the name Toka. I don't know if the writer actually took that name from that film. I don't know, because I have never delved into information about the characters for the series, of how the writer came up with these characters. Now, one thing I gotta admit for this series, this is one of a handful of series I've seen where the main female lead and the main male lead do fall in love. And they kind of later get married. This has happened in several series I have watched. This happened in Rashira Kenshin, Bushido Rukin, this series, and that's it. This is only the third series I've seen where this has happened. But as for a female lead having blue hair, this is, I would say, by far the first one I've seen where it's been like this, where you have a character who's got blue hair. And also, it's not the first one I've seen where the main character's love interest has a brother. Okay, not the first one I've seen like this. No, but in the case of this one's still alive. In the case of Bleach, where you have the love interest you have Orihime, who was in love with Ichigo, had a brother, but he died prior to the series. In the case of something like, let's say, well, this is probably like the only one I can think of where the brother's actually still alive. Well, there is one other series I can think of where you have a male lead and you have a female lead in the series, kind of in a way, and of course, she has a brother alive, and that's Toriko. Yeah, Toriko is the only other series I've seen like this. Yeah, and of course, later on, the brother who, in the case of Toriko, from what I've heard, is that they got along, and of course, they had to become brothers-in-law later on. This one, it's when Ken first met Toka's brother, he did not want to kill him at all. And the reason is because he's the only family that she has left. So he said to him, I am not going to kill you because you're the only family Toka has. Despite the fact he doesn't like him very much anyways. Toka was actually surprised he said that. I mean, you can tell very easily the brother and sister because they have the same hair color. That is the reason how. And they look kind of similar in a way. Though they could be twins, but yeah. But give it what you will. And plus, he seemed protecting him during the raid in that prison. He saved him from one of the CCG investigators. Yeah, there's, I think, one other death in the series. That's Aquaman. He actually does fight him twice in this season. He fights him in the prison, which he's basically out of control monster. And he fights him toward the end. Now, it's not shown the conclusion of their fight, but it's kind of shown he may have actually killed him, but it's never shown. His body is barely seen, and it's completely unknown exactly what happened to him. In the manga, he became a one-eyed ghoul, but in the case of this, yeah, it's left completely up in the air. Now, Ryza in the manga series, I do kind of remember this part. She is actually alive because Ken does find her later on. In the anime, it's completely unknown because they don't show her body after she's crushed by freaking steel beams at a construction site that happened back in the pilot episode. Yeah, they don't show that at all for some reason. And apparently, here's the thing. By the time of the final episode, it's only been 2 months since the finale. Well, actually, it's been like 4 months since the start of the series. So yeah, it's only been just 4 months, which is a bit surprising. 4 months, wow. I'm like, that is not much time to pass by for the series. Though in the case of the manga, it was actually like more like a year passed by the time the series ended. Okay, I think it was like about a year or two. But this is something a bit unusual I've seen for a series. When you have a time skip, the series is supposed to continue. In the case of Tokyo Ghoul, they ended the series and then have like a 2-year time skip and they just change the name of the series. Which I'm like, that's supposed. I see that for an anime, but not for a manga series. This is a bit unusual. This is the first time I have ever seen this for a series. But all in all, Tokyo Ghoul Season 2, aka Tokyo Ghoul Route A, is a fantastic season. This is just my opinion on this, despite the fact it's an alternate take on these final chapters. But also, in my honest opinion, it's done really, really well, despite the fact this is just an alternate take and some original stuff thrown in. Because if you look how they're displayed in the manga, from the battle the Aga Tree arc up until the final arc of the series, it's very, very similar. Keeping a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff. I mean, yeah, they cut some stuff here and there from the manga, but overall, great season. And I can't wait for season 3, which I thought was going to come in July. Excuse me. Excuse me. I was actually mistaken. It's going to come out in April. Okay, fine. So right now, I'm just trying to get done the Tokyo Ghoul manga, trying to get that cut up to date before the series comes back in April. And it's one of 3 series come back this year, along with Fairy Tail and Attack on Titan. Though in the case of Attack on Titan, that's come back in July. Fairy Tail is come back sometime this summer. I'm not really sure when. But yeah, of course, also, yes, I have heard about Dragon Ball Super ending in March, which is a bit odd that it's ending, though I've heard because of money. That's the reason why the series is ending. Alright, I had to throw that in there, alright? So, that's it for this particular part. Stay tuned for part 3, where I'm going to talk about the OVAs. And there's 2 of them. Yep, 2 OVAs. That'll be part 3. 4 will be the live action release last year, okay? But until I see you all on my next episode, bye.